boy, I'm so excited to see what amazing things I will find on Twitter today. 911, what's your emergency? Yeah, so this nigga is a pedophile. Can you please come quick? Yes, we're on our way. Alright, thank you. Well, you know it's a great day for content when I have to whip out the anti-degenerate protection hat. So there's a video that's been getting quite a bit of attention on Twitter from a YouTuber called Depressed and it's titled Why the West Tries to Cancel Loli Culture, which is a mythical title pool if I've ever seen one. Now I've said my opinion on lolicon multiple times, but in case you're not in the know, I think that if you're good to characters who clearly look and act like children, you probably should not be allowed within 500 meters of a primary school.
Once there was a man. His name was Pablo. Pablo was not a very good man. He liked to have sex with small children.
So with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into this wonderful cesspit.
There are quite a few things the West hates about Eastern media, and some of those are due to the prominence of generally taboo things like incest and Rayona. But among these taboos, one stands at the precipice of notoriety and controversy. Lolis. Lolis, in their most simple pop culture definition, is a Japanese-style drawing of a person that has physical characteristics of a child. They may not actually need to be a child, just that they can include childlike appearances and traits like a squeaky voice, brattiness, or energeticness. The intention for this type of character is to be cute. Aggression-inducing, blood-pumping, annoyingly cute.
Okay, it's not that this character is a child, it's that this character who also looks like a child is also sexualized, which is absolutely wretched. No one has an issue with Anya from Spy Family, for example, because throughout the series, that character is never sexualized. And I hope it stays that way, because with this kind of anime shit, you never know what's gonna happen next. I think that even though in the West we have pioneered free speech laws, it's also very important to have a solid moral code that rejects anything degenerate that may harm others. Whether that be sexually explicit pride events, child beauty pageants, or media that sexualizes kids. And having this moral code doesn't make us weak. In fact, it keeps our society sane and safe for future generations. But judging by what this video will soon insinuate, this guy would rather our society be a chaotic mess full of maniacs, if that would mean he could goon to 11-year-old anime pussy.
But of course, just like literally anything else in the world, something cute was bound to be sexualized. And because of the popularity of such, those who are unfamiliar with Eastern culture may find it off-putting. Over in the West, these concepts are demonized. See, if the average adult man asks you to explain what a loli is, you'd probably get weird looks at best and get the cops called on you at worst. Even if lolis are not sexualized, because of the sheer amount of it, even in series where there isn't anything lewd, it's not difficult to see why people look at it that way.
Oh, so we should accept different cultural standards? Okay, breaking news guys! We are implementing Sharia law into our country's legal system in the name of multiculturalism. Honestly, if your culture is fine with erotic drawings of underage characters, I will automatically assume your culture to be barbaric. Here in Ireland, for example, lolicon falls under the CP umbrella and is therefore classified as illegal. Does that mean that the Irish hate freedom and their entire culture is anti-free speech? No, it just means that they care more about children than, say, a country that only criminalized child pornography possession in 2014. And even then, the punishment is up to a year in prison or a fine of $10,000. And that's the truth. We're just better than those child-fucking sushi eaters over there.
I think the reason for this divide is because of how fiction is consumed and perceived by both cultures. I think the West generally looks at fiction as a reflection of reality. They wish for it to be as grounded as possible, to be created with realism and real-world rules and consequences in mind. Just as they think that violence in fiction encourages young people to be violent IRL, they think that attraction to fictional young people is attraction to the young regardless, that it undermines efforts against exploitation and loosely attempts to normalize or fetishize it. And because they think fiction is pinned to reality, attraction to fictional children is a pipeline leading to probable or actual pedophilia.
I don't think this perception is without evidence, because fiction can be both inspired by reality and have an effect on the real-world behavior. For example, Top Gun was created during a time when the US was exiting its post-Vietnam depressive state and entering Reagan-era patriotism, and its existence was instrumental in helping rehabilitate the image of the US military. This is because of something called cultural invisibility, subtle cues within the film's narrative and other cinematic elements that nudge the viewer towards a desired message or ideology. Also, anime itself as a whole is not an escapist medium, because it has been used before to tackle serious real-world issues that not a lot of other mediums are willing to talk about. Sure, you can create, for example, a Marvel movie that is fantastical in nature and not really connected to reality, but at the end of the day, it's going to have messages and ideologies that are taken from the real world, because fiction is made by man, and man takes inspiration for his work from the real world. So yes, no matter how much these deviants may try to deceive you, fiction cannot be as easily separated from reality. So for example, if an animation studio in Tokyo decides to make an anime glorifying the events that occurred on Epstein Island, what does that say about the people who made the anime? And what does that say about the messages and ideologies that they intend to convey through that anime?
In the East, fiction is a reflection of one's imagination, wild and untethered, created with as much flair, mythicality, and aura in mind. That fiction has minimal real-world consequences, a world where you can think or create of anything. What you like in fiction does not correlate to what you like in reality. Just like how some women fantasize or consume about fictional grape does not really want to be graped, so too are lolicons not necessarily attracted to actual children.
Okay, nice argument. Problem is, however, that this fiction that is supposedly divorced from reality has become part of a lot of people's real-life online identities. I mean, when you take a look at online profiles of people who say that lolicon is not pedophilic, you will notice that pretty much all of them are chronic porn addicts.
Rev is an open lolicon. He will literally defend a lolicon to his dying breath. He's been caught watching lolicon. He's been caught posting lolicon. His bariatric wife posted this. She also literally bought him lolicon for his birthday.
I also just want to point out something else about the screenshot. Not only is the genre of this show loli, but it also includes a public sex, remove censored, school, sex toys, swimsuit, vanilla, virgin, and Yuri. So this show, which is clearly about kids in school, also, features all this other fucking horrible shit. And how are we expected not to call people like Rev Says Desu pedophiles? Now, if we were talking about video games or movies, there generally wouldn't be a massive issue, since there is no substantial link between violent video games/movies and actually being violent in real life. However, when we approach a pornographic material like lolicon, we start to see a big problem, because porn addiction has shown to be really harmful to the human brain and the way it operates. So if someone is addicted to watching lolicon material, eventually they're gonna want to step up their game to get that gooning dopamine hit, and this will lead to them either consuming more depraved content or straight up raping an actual kid. So the next time these pro-lolicon fuckers try to convince you that their argument is the same as the video games don't cause violence argument, just know they are blatantly lying to you and they think you're too retarded to realize.
Some start arguing about the semantics and the specifics, like how age does or doesn't matter into how lolis are defined, or how you should include high schoolers in anime, even if most animes are in a high school setting and even if they don't look like lolis, or how lolis are acceptable as long as it's not sexualized, or how short petite women are losing representation because of its controversy, or whatever have you.
Why the fuck do you need all these semantics? I don't think it's that hard to be against any piece of media that features sexualized depictions of underage characters. If that material is made for the purpose of giving pedophiles a goon sesh, then it should be perfectly fine for me to go to the house of the person who made that work and throw them into a deep fryer.
There is a popular story going around cyberpunk edgerunners. You see, CD Projekt Red was heavily against the idea of Rebecca being in the cyberpunk world. A loli does not belong, they said, for some reason. Their Japanese animation partner, Studio Trigger, wasn't having any of it and refused to change Rebecca's design or place in it. The loli must stay, they said, and yet Rebecca became one of the most memorable characters in the show.
What we've just spotted there is something called blatant misrepresentation. Because even though Rebecca has this particular body type, she is an adult, specifically around the age of 20 according to the showrunner. So it's not even remotely the same as all the other animes, where the characters are explicitly made out to be children. Now some quote-unquote people might bring up Jodie Foster as a 12-year-old prostitute in Taxi Driver and say that by my logic, that film is pedo-coded. But my rebuttal is that the film doesn't sexualize the character at all, and in fact presents her as a victim of child sexual abuse, something that all these animes don't do.
Oh my god, season 3 has so much lolly shit in it, it's insane. I was watching that shit with my homies, and we're like, was it always like this?
No, the curious thing is that it wasn't always like that. The show initially was not that bad. In season 1, there was almost no lolicon material, outside of it maybe mentioning the word in this scene here. In season 2, it ramps it up a bit with this conversation that was a little bit weird. Well, I mean, it was very weird. And there were a couple of suspicious things about season 2. Then, in season 3, the show goes full mask off, almost like they were trying to trick the audience into accepting it by slowly integrating it into the show, which is really creepy, like they knew what they were doing.
These animes don't even make an attempt to present attraction to an underage character as something wrong. In fact, they straight up glorify it. And the fact that this guy is having to explain so many things without saying anything of common sense is really fucking weird to me. But honestly, it shouldn't be too surprising coming from a guy who literally sold a video of a VTuber getting assaulted on his Patreon.
That is today. Firstly, we check in with Depressed Nasagi, self-described as a VTuber historian, with this content creator also having an open Patreon, offering up this highest tier for $8 per month, including exclusive content, a private community, and also exclusive quote-unquote forbidden knowledge videos. Forbidden knowledge being a term in the VTuber scene, meaning dox information. It was revealed that the doxing videos had been made into exclusive membership videos on the YouTube channel. And we can also further verify that in the video for Takanashi Kiara, there was actually a link to a separate video that was unlisted. This video being an IRL video of Kiara during a very traumatic event of hers.
Now, is it just me, or is anyone else sensing some pattern recognition here? A sexual deviant doing sexually deviant things. Shouldn't be that hard to put one and the other together.
Comiket, the world's biggest fan convention, a gathering to celebrate fiction, born and led by Japan. Well, it was under fire from the UN recently for allowing lolis to be displayed and for being an actual genre, saying that it's generally harmful material. And in response to this, actual Japanese officials told them to go fuck themselves, that this is legal as it does not involve real people and that it is under the realms of creative and artistic expression.
Now, I don't think it's necessary for the UN to intervene in matters like this because they're quite trivial, but I do think that Japan should reform its laws in order to categorize lolicon as part of the CP umbrella. Because plainly, that kind of stuff is culturally incompatible with the rest of the civilized world, and is just an avenue for pedophiles to continue engaging in their degeneracy as opposed to getting therapy or chemical castration or, I don't know, killing themselves.
Though legal or not, many platforms seek to still censor such media. If you're a gooner, you might have noticed that a lot of Western hentai streaming platforms like Hentai Ocean, H-Anime, or Hentai Haven once had the loli and shota genre but have since then been removed, and it's not exclusive to streaming sites. Reddit, Patreon, Twitch, and a lot of other social medias and websites are having none of it.
Oh my god! It's literally 1984! I cannot masturbate to children! That's right, ladies and gentlemen, America is back, the West is saved, no more gooning to children, no more avenues for pedophiles, and no more tolerating degeneracy. If you get caught gooning to lolicon, we will send you to Florida and feed you to the crocodiles.
The West discovered the culture and concept of VTubers very much later than Japan. Yes, motion tracking hardware and software and even animated models was a thing for a long time here, but it wasn't VTubing as we know it right now. VTubing first came to the West in a spectacularly massive boom with the introduction of HoloLive, which served to introduce fans to the medium and the culture. And many women took a liking to that concept. Some women find representation in lolis and translate that into VTubing because yes, a lot of women are short and petite. In fact, so many Asian women look so young that people can often mistake them as a child, which further adds as to why the East is more okay with it.
Again, the issue is not that the character is young, it's that they are young and being sexualized. And trying to fabricate this link to Asian women when it really doesn't hold up is plainly a bad excuse and a bad attempt at false equivalence. There's a bunch of VTubers who do things like be lewd on stream and sell mouse pads with tits. And while I think that this behavior is cringe even as someone who has watched these VTubers, at least these VTuber models look like adults and the people behind them act like adults. Meanwhile, you have a bunch of VTubers who explicitly try to appeal to a demographic of closet sex offenders, and they try to put it into this kawaii package when in reality, it's really fucking weird.
Some VTubers ride a very razor thin edge on what should be considered ethical and legal.
Mamma mia! The hair is so slippery!
The small anime girl models that are used and the way they are used is questionable at best. I understand it's cutesy, it's moe, it's kawaii sugoi, but I feel like putting on a child voice and then using a model that looks specifically like a school-aged person to pander to a group of, let's say, pedophiles is kinda scummy.
Now in general, I have no issues with VTubers and they can use whatever models they want, but I will have an issue with them if they try to pull any pedo-coded shit.
A lot of other VTubers also find their identity as a loli because maybe that's just how they are personality and appearance-wise. And that will be the case of literally the most popular VTuber in the world and the face of the industry. Gargura, a very clear textbook loli who was more than open in the sexualization of herself. She would make cheeky references, her animated short featured her naked 80% of the time, and she had this popular taunt against anti-lolicons.
What, are you scared of a little four-letter word?
Yeah, it's quite wretched behavior. I know that to the porn addicts watching this video, this whole idea of morality might sound lame, because you guys clearly don't understand this concept, but sexualization of anything childlike is bad, and leads to a normalization of pedophilic behavior, and I think it should be tackled. It shouldn't be, commodified and packaged, and sold to the masses in order to produce more gooners, because that is going to cause harm in the long term.
And of course, the West's defiance to this movement would soon come, and at first it came in the form of Brittany Venti, who was entirely against what Gura stood for. She threw a video basically disavowing and calling out this sort of thing plaguing the internet, and well, VTuber fans didn't like that and proceeded to return her sentiments against her tenfold.
Here we see what I like to call the lolicon free speech paradox. They claim to support free speech, but then will silence anyone who disagrees with them. These motherfuckers legit have the same tactics and tribalist mentality as the woke leftists they claim to hate. They'll call you names like tourist, they'll dislike bomb videos that disagree with them, and if you call them out on Twitter, they'll accuse you of being a pedophile yourself.
It's become much more popular with Elon. Once he took over, calling people pedos over drawings is a reportable thing.
Just report him for impersonating at Charling Strawby. Or just report for all the other offensive shit on his account. Would never have cared about him, but he could never stop harassing my girlfriend.
If you're such a goo-goo gaga baby who preaches about freedom of speech and respect for others' opinions, and then turns around and tries to deplatform people just for disagreeing with you, then you should really fuck off from the internet and jump off a cliff. Now the rest of the video is pretty much more lolicon defense drivel, which I'm quite tired of analyzing because I'd just be repeating myself over and over again. So for the sake of brevity, let me respond to this video's argument that lolicon should be normalized in the West. It should not, and anyone who even says something about that should probably be investigated and put on a register. But anyway guys, that is the end of this very epic commentary video. Thank you all so much for watching and for all of your support. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, turn notifications on. Please comment because it really helps me out in the algorithm. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Watching, I swear to God, they be my clothes. Yeah, hey, huh? Switching my hoes like my flows. Switching my friends like my clothes. Keep on shooting that gun, no reload.